We can't view the patch notes for Riven disposition on the actual website, so we're going to go ahead and do it from a mirror. But the Riven dispositions, so they release these every 3 months along with the mainline patch. Just to go over like what Riven, because DE reassesses what the role of how powerful Rivens are supposed to be based on general usage and on just how powerful they think the gun should be. And in a sense, usage statistics on Rivens are a way for the community to give feedback on which weapons suck and which weapons don't. Unfortunately, sort of the final conundrum, part of the conundrum with Rivens in the first place is that if your weapon is good, you don't need a Riven on it because the Riven disposition is going to suck. But if your weapon sucks, a Riven's probably not enough to really cover it, especially with the way that they release Rivens now. Rivens now release at like 0.5 for the most part rather than 1.0. So, no, like maybe this time a year ago or this time 2 years ago, you'd be paying 1,000 or 2,000 plat just for a Riven for a new weapon. These days you're probably paying 500. Like, personally, I paid 2,000 for a Nadaruk Riven, but that's because I got super, super desperate, but it also didn't matter, right? Nadaruk's just a really good weapon, but rolling a Riven at 0.5 feels really bad because there's a good chance that unless you sink enough Kuva into it, you're not going to get anything better than half of the mods that are already in the game. Which is kind of disappointing, but Rivens also serve the purpose of pushing weapons over the top. But let's just get into it. Let's see if any of these Riven changes are really any surprising at all. Kuva Ogress, Rifles Kuva Ogress, went down by a little bit. That's not surprising. It's really useful as like an AoE clear weapon, especially in lower level missions. Like, even unmodded, this thing is probably one-shotting the star chart anyway, like the regular star chart. It doesn't have as much use in Steel Path, but in low-level content, if you need AoE and you need coverage, this is a weapon to do it. You don't need single target because you're one-shotting level 25 mobs, and you just need the room to be gone. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to say about it other than that. Lens going up. Lens has been power crept the fuck out of the game. Kuva Brahma exists. There was one point where Lens was like 0.6. But one of the things that really kept it from being super, super like useful was that it did a lot of self-damage. You were very liable to one-shot yourself. Which kind of sucked. And if you got caught in the explosion, chances are you slowed yourself too, assuming that you survived. That wasn't great. Not great at all. Let's see. Panthera Prime went up. Makes sense. Panthera, nobody likes Panthera. I think did this gun start at 1.0 on release? I think it did. Alright, well that just goes to show you how much faith DE had in Panthera in the first place. Where its prime version, all of the bullets actually explode and have this little minuscule AoE. And it still sucks because nobody uses it. And the all-fire is not good either. So, whatever. Shidu went down. That's a little bit surprising. But if they factor in the part where you have to farm Railjack in order to get a Shidu in the first place, then that's actually very impressive. Because the Shidu, you fire once, and then if it hits the ground, it explodes. Otherwise, it's got like built-in fire or something, so you build for fire, crossover, build for viral fire. It's a good weapon overall. Very fun. Infinite ammo. Technically, yeah, it is infinite ammo. Sporothrix. I don't have as much experience with this weapon, but I didn't really like the interaction. Hold on, what is the Sporothrix again? That's the sniper. That's the exploding sniper. Yeah, that thing fucking sucks. No, that thing fucking sucks. It's not good. It's not good. This makes sense that it's going up. So not only is it hard enough that it's a sniper in the first place, but you only get the explosion if it's a headshot, so why don't you just use a Vara? Stalta is Boltor Prime, but worse. Not surprising that it went up. Tenet Envoy, is that the briefcase? I think that's the briefcase. Let me check. I'm pretty sure Tenet Envoy is the briefcase. Envoy, yep, it's the briefcase where you have to aim it. It's actually quite strong with the amount of AoE that you have to do, but the massive delay with the fact that it has inbuilt navigator just makes it super clunky. Tenet Flux Rifle, kind of fun. It's similar to Rattle Guts, in the sense that it fires fairly quickly, but the bullet is very narrow, and then it has a small AoE on impact. I think people were expecting this gun to be more like the actual Flux Rifle, but in this case it's not. It's just unironically a gun. It's unironically a gun, and it's not a beam. Flux Rifle is actually a beam, so it has the different mechanics of being a beam, whereas Tenet Flux Rifle is not. I'm not surprised that this went up. It can be very clunky sometimes, even though the base damage is very high. It's actually very strong. But that's not surprising that disposition went up. Tenet Tetra, yeah, nobody likes that shit. Prisma Tetra is bad. Tenet Tetra is bad. Regular Tetra is bad. Tenora Prime. That's unfortunate that it went up, but I think this might be a case of where the MR is a little too high, and its status as a bullet hose is outclassed by the Soma Prime. Even though the Soma Prime has lower damage numbers overall, the Tenora Prime, it takes too long to get, and by the time you get it, you're probably invested into other bullet hoses in general. Ignis Wraith is usable at some MR. Something ridiculously low. Oh, Ignis Wraith is like MR9. Regular Ignis is MR5. And even though that's not truly a bullet hose, the fact that it's a bullet hose with a cone and that it's a beam more or less outclasses the fact that Tenora Prime has a relatively low Riven disposition for the role that it's performing. Okay, cool, you can use a charge shot to use up ammo and to do a slightly larger explosion, but it's not great for the MR. As a weapon, it's what is the MR required for this? Need to double check this. Tenora Prime is MR 14. That's nothing. That's nothing. Yeah, that's so pointless. Archiplasmor, surprised that went up. Question mark? Okay. Well, nobody's using the Archiplasmor anyway because Tenet Plasmor is good. So, since we have Tenet Archiplasmor and that one actually bounces, Archiplasmor is just completely outclassed. This makes sense. Astilla Prime went up, makes sense. It's been power crept out of the game. Corinth Prime, power crept out of the game. Cedo is more powerful than the Corinth Prime because not only does the Cedo Glaive actually do an AoE, but it's also an unconditional AoE. Whereas Corinth Prime, the projectile that you fire actually has to travel 20 meters. Despite its special role in certain quests. It is iconic. The Corinth Prime is definitely iconic. I'm not surprised that it got buffed. Kuvahek buffed. Kuvahek got power crept out of the game before it even existed. One of the unfortunate things about the status change, where Rivens, where weapons with status that hit 100 before multi-shot for shotguns would proc on every pellet from a shotgun. Shotguns took a huge nerf on that, and there's pretty much no way to make up for it unless your shotgun is already doing metric brick tons of damage. And as of right now, Kuva Heck is actually outclassed by Korath Prime, and Korath Prime is already outclassed by the Cedo. That's not good. I expect this to go up a little bit more. I'm surprised that the regular Heck and the Vapor Heck didn't also go up, but I believe that those went up in the last patch as well. So it makes sense that only the Kuva Heck got changed. Actually, we can take a look at that right now. Don't worry, we're not really cycling this. Heck, yeah, so that's like 1.2. That's probably 1.1. This is 0.8 now. Yeah, so both of the other Heck variants are above 1 in disposition. The only one that's not is Kuva Heck. Kuva Heck is probably... I would expect it actually to go up to 0.9 next patch. Because it's just... It was power correct before existence. And it doesn't have a gimmick to it. It's just hard to get. And this thing is... And it's what? It's a Kuva weapon, so it's like MR13 anyway. Alright, what else is there? Secondaries, Axolotl Prime. Old gun. Probably been power crept, but it's also been vaulted for a really long time. If they take acquisition into account of buffing Rivens, then this is also very impressive. Just like I mentioned with the Shido, this has been vaulted for so long, and even before the trade changes, like 2 years ago, where they let you trade up to 6 items at a time as opposed to 5, makes it very difficult to proliferate Axolotl. So it's very likely that the Axolotl, people probably do get Axolotl parts because it's so difficult to trade without getting scammed for so long. So that influences the amount that are actually available on the market, and it also hasn't been available as a result of being unvaulted for a very long time as well. I think this is Vauban? Axolotl Prime, I think, is Vauban. And they had to change Vauban too. So, but Axolotl Prime, it's also a case of power creep. Axomati is better. Oh, what's the other one? There's another one. There's another one that's like this. I can't think of it right now. But not surprised that this went up. But this was also the dual wield prime guns for a really long time, because Twin Gurkata fires too quickly. It fires too quickly and has too long of a reload as compared to Axolotl Prime, which is probably why people don't use it, despite it being actually higher DPS and lower time to kill. Well, actually, it's probably the worst time to kill because of the reload, but it has higher DPS. Catabolist, not surprising. The throw mechanic with the empty magazine, I don't like it. It's outclassed by other kit guns. Hell, even kit guns outclass other kit guns, and there are guns that outclass other guns. Cyanex went up a little bit. I have been playing with the Cyanex for a little bit, and yo, this thing fucking slaps. This, in terms of power, the Cyanex, it did not need to be nerfed. It homes in for you. It's got a free gas proc, which is good because if you put viral heat on it, you're doing a lot of huge amounts of dots, which is also really good because then it benefits from the pistol version of Condition Overload. This gun fucking slaps, and I think people need to stop sleeping on it because it's actually fucking good. It does have to work for you. It aims. Tenet Cycron. Surprised that this got buffed. But I think people are still recommending Kuva Nucor. I think Tenet Cycron is... I think Ooh, okay, so I think part of the thing is that Tenet Cycron, despite the fact that it chains to mobs, just like the Kuva Nucor, um, is this the one that's on a is this the one that's on a battery? I believe this one is on a battery, and it's base heat instead of base radiation. So it actually makes it slightly worse for condition overload than even the regular Cyclone. The regular Cyclone is a radiation weapon. Tenet Cyclone is base heat. So if you farmed, so if you were working off of old information, you started farming the sisters on day one. You tried to do, and then you tried to do proc, and then you tried to do, and then you tried to do void missions to farm sisters. You accidentally, and you used Ember instead of Mesa. You got a redundant weapon. Then you had to farm the Tenet Cyclone again just so you could put magnetic or radiation back on it. The Tenet Cyclone's good. It's actually, I would say it's the second best weapon in the game, but only because it has so many similarities to Kuva Nucor. They're both primers, but if you're priming a mob, you want to go with the one that has a better damage spread. And in comparison, that's even that is Kuva Nucor, but Tenet Cyclone, unless you get like dual element on it, it's not that great. Let's take a look at my. I want to take a look at my Tenet Cyclone. Wait, that's not right. On the other hand, it is also entirely possible to make this a crit weapon. I just don't have a crit weapon for it. Oh, it went up. Oh, it used to be below 150. That's nice. Well, that's pretty cool. Maybe I'll revisit that. It did go up a little bit. Not by much, but it did go up a little bit. The Detrons both went up. Makes sense. Mara Detron also got hit really badly with the status changes. Shotguns. Like, the whole point of Mara Detron was to... It's got like 16 bullet. It's got like 16 base multi-shot or some ridiculous thing like that. But for the longest time, they had to keep the disposition at 0.5 because it was too easy for it to hit 100% status with all the mods in the game. But now that status no longer works, like having 100% status before multi-shot gives you every elemental proc on every bullet, it's not a surprise that this went up. Mara Detron went up. Tenet Detron also went up. There's better pistol shotguns. There really are. Hell, even Act Bronco Prime is better than it just simply because it has a mod that gives you viral. And with that mod that gives you free viral, you can get viral, heat, and corrosive on Act Bronco. Despite it being harder to use, simply does better damage. Euphona Prime, same shit. Shotgun pistols are not doing a whole lot right now. I'm surprised that there's not a regular version of the Euphona. Just to add MR into the game, but it's got the same problem. It's been power crept out of the game by the fact that there are better pistol shotguns. Compressor went up. Like most of the Yorelli drop, Compressor was very underwhelming. You have to fire, then you have to wait, then it explodes. It's nice that it does viral in the explosion though, but you have to wait. So this is not surprising that Compressor went up at all. It's not the best gun. Pandero Prime went up. A little surprising. I'm also surprised that the regular Pandero also didn't go up at the same time. The Pandero Prime, for the amount of effort that you have to put into it, is not very good. Again, for the amount of effort that you got into it. Otherwise, it's actually a solid Desert Eagle. A solid Desert Eagle clone. It's also easier to get. Well, actually, is it? It's actually harder to get than the Lex Prime, but the Lex Prime is iconic. Like, I don't know. Oh, and it has a fan the hammer mode. Whatever. Cool. I don't think that needed to be buffed. But it's nice that it did. I guess they're just not seeing the usage out of it that they really expected out of people. Even though it dropped with Octavia Prime. And Octavia Prime's pretty fun. Tenet Diplos, I would argue that this is a severe overestimation of how good these guns actually are. The aiming and lock-on mechanic is probably one of the worst things I've ever played with. It really is. It's awful. It is awful. It's not fun. It uses like 4 times the ammo per shot, but it does the regular amount of damage. If it aims towards stuff, it still respects line of sight. That's bad. I'm not surprised that I am actually surprised that this does not go up more, because it's not good. And I'm surprised that people are actually using it. Tenet Spyrex? What is this weapon? Oh, this is the I don't even remember this weapon. Damn. Okay, that makes sense. Alright, that makes sense that this went up. I think this has some kind of headshot gimmick. Hold on, let me double check. I need to double check this. I don't remember this weapon at all. Headshot speed up reload. Is that it? Wait, hold on. Is that it? Like, there's no other gimmick to that? Okay. I guess it comes with free fire. So just put magnetic on it. Yeah, I don't remember this weapon at all. Makes sense. This makes sense. Zacti Prime. Zacti Prime has the same problem as... Zacti Prime has the same problem as Compressa. Same with Zymos. You have to shoot. You have to shoot, wait for it to explode, then it explodes. People are telling me that the Zymos is a crit weapon. It is not a crit weapon. It's 5% crit. It's not a crit weapon. It doesn't matter if it's got 2.6 crit multi. It's not a crit weapon. So unless you have a top roll Zymos, it's not going anywhere. But with 1.15 disposition, you probably can get 200 crit on it. So Prime Pistol Gambit is 187. Let's just say it doubles that, right? It's 360% crit. 360% of 5. So that's 400. So that's 4.6 times 5, which is almost 24%. I'm doing a Riven disposition review. Putting this on YouTube. This is 24% crit. Oh my god, that ain't it, man. That's not it. Dark Split Sword, disposition went up. It's a cool weapon. Nobody cares. Glaive Prime, yeah, I expect all the... Interesting. Well, I was going to say that I expected all the glaives to get nerfed, because people have realized that the glaive mods are a thing, like Volatile Rebound and uh, volatile quick return, but I guess not. Halakar Wraith went up. I guess people forgot that that existed. It is also an event weapon. Glaive Prime is associated with Ember and Frost Prime. So, and I believe that the gold is a lith. The gold is the lith reward. Don't quote me on that. But considering that it's that easy to get, it's probably actually common enough to make the rounds. Legion, I think that's a polearm. No, is that a staff or a polearm? Whatever. Pulmonars. Don't remember that weapon. I don't remember that weapon at all. Tenet Agendus. This I believe is the sword and shield that creates a shockwave. I'm not surprised that the Riven went up, but 0.55 is also a vast overestimation on how powerful it actually is. Same with the Tenet Exec. I think that one is the two-hander. People are still using Zaws. Vassalok is... Vassalok's the event Gunblade. I would suspect that people didn't... I know for sure I didn't, because my shit was bugged. But you got this from Twitch Prime as a drop. I linked my account, and I did the watch requirement, and I still didn't get it from the stream. So then I had to wait for Barrow, but Barrow came with it, like, next week. So it wasn't that big a deal. But it's still not that great. You'd still rather use Redeemer Prime. Volnus Prime, that's actually a fairly large buff. I remember them saying some time ago that they didn't want to commit to changes of more than 1/10 of a pip at once. But Volnus Prime going from 0.8 to 1, that's 2 pips, that's 2/10 of a pip. I'm guessing that they're expecting that a lot more people would have used Garo's weapon. And surprisingly, no. Which is not surprising at all. Grattler going up. Grattler and Kuva Grattler. Wow, both of them went up. How do I feel about this? I don't actually know how to feel about this. I remember having Punch Through on my Grattler, and it made leveling with it very easy. But I still wouldn't use Grattler on anything, just simply because it can knock you over. Which is really annoying, considering you don't get sure-footed, especially in space. It's less of an issue if you're using it against Profit Taker, but why are you using it against Profit Taker? You don't want AoE against Profit Taker because it'll eat your damage. You actually want single target. You actually do want, like, the Imperator Vandal. So, I'm not sure why they did this. But if usage stats are low, then that's why. If Larkspur got a buff, that's very interesting. Morga fucking sucks. Not surprising. Larkspur is like a big Technicolor version of Atomos. It's actually pretty good, but I actually, you know what? I actually can feel the damage falling off a little bit sometimes, especially in Fortuna. If I'm doing Profit Taker, I actually stopped using Larkspur to clear mobs. I started taking my Necromech and using Arcabucks, but I mean, who doesn't use Arcabucks to clear mobs? Come on, it's Arcabucks. Who doesn't use Void Ring? Come on. But I guess in that sense, Larkspur's been outclassed recently. People are using it less and less and less. The magazine size is not 300 unless you're playing Hildren, and people are playing Hildren less and less and less because fewer people are focusing on Solaris standing. So there's just less AoE when it comes to stuff like that. But that's actually a fairly small amount of Riven changes. I would have expected a lot more melee changes. I really would have expected a lot more melee changes. Huh. Is there anything else I really want to add? What weapons would I have liked to have seen buffed? What Rivens? Well, not Nadaruk, because that literally just came out. That one's 0.5. That can stay at 0.5. Tomos? No, it's already at 1.0. Tomos was great. Cynex didn't need to get buffed, but I like that it got buffed. Ocucore? Ooh, Ocucore is pretty good. Oh god, that Riven's really already high though. That Riven's already really high. That's a good gun. But on the other hand, I'm not surprised people aren't going for it. Oh, the Spyrex is the Corpus version of the Kraken. That's right. All right, yeah. Okay, Kraken needed a buff too. If the Spyrex got a buff, So should the Kuvo Kraken. It's 1.0. All right, yeah. It's bad, guys. It's bad. I think it would have been super troll if the planks got buffed as well. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I won't talk about it. I won't talk about why it's. I won't talk about why the planks is iconic. I'm not going to talk about it. Is Stug at 1.6 yet? I fucking better be at 1.6 or at least 1.5. This might be one of the worst guns in the game. It still does self-damage, by the way. Twin Comac. Twin Comac's pretty fun. Oh, that disposition's already really high. Hagrid? Oh, yeah, alright. That's already 1.5. Maybe 1.4. Prisma Twin Gremlin's already got a buff. I believe that's 1.5 now. I think Act Bronco's 3? No, 1.1. Cool. Cool. Twin Rogas? Twin Rogo? That's already 1.2. I'm telling you guys, this is not a crit weapon. Look at this. It's 5.0 with a 2.3 crit multi. Even if you rolled crit on this Riven and got it to be another copy of Prime Pistol Gambit, it goes up to 25%. That ain't it. That's not it. Magnus. Yeah, this gun fucking sucks. Oh, this gun fucking sucks. Wait. Hits have a chance to maximize ammo efficiency for a few seconds. Okay, whatever, dude. Nobody fucking cares. Was there anything else that really needed to get buffed? I think MLS is already 1.5. Oh, I wonder what the Scourge disposition is. That would have been something to revisit. Hey. Hey. I got scammed. Oh, I guess I can't see it yet. There's no point in going crit on this. Head crit. Okay, so you see, this weapon could potentially be a crit weapon if you rolled crit on it. 5% is way too low. 10% is salvageable. You put point strike on this, that gives you 150. You put on another 150 from your Riven, that's 300. So that's 40% crit. That's doable, especially with 100 munitions. But I think I need to... okay, alright, well, I guess I know what I need to do next. I need to build my Scourge Prime. But yeah, so that's the end of the Riven rundown. I'm surprised there weren't more. There are some of these I'm really surprised by. Yeah, some of these I'm fairly surprised by. Like, Cyanex didn't need a buff. Pandera Prime I didn't think needed a buff. Euphona Prime didn't need a buff, but that might have been the first time that they touched it in a while. I don't think Larkspur needed a buff, but it's nice that they all got him. Yeah, the Tenet weapons definitely need a buff. They way overestimated how strong those guns are. Those melees were coming into the game. Dark Split Sword, interesting, because it still does... It's still at the top of the DPS charts against mobs that are weak against radiation. But I guess Prisma Dual Cleaver is still king for stance dancing. If you are, you know, like, good at melee. Tenet Spyrex, this thing needs to go all the way up to 1. Same with Diplos. Both of these guns are fucking awful. Why didn't the Kuba Kraken get buffed? I don't know, because it's literally, they're copies of each other. No, that's it. That's it. Alright. We'll move on.